Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down to chat with all of you about the Starfield backlash, the Starfield review bombings. Is it legit? Is it not? Is it worth your attention? And that's a question that I was asking myself over the weekend. Is this really worth talking about? Am I doing a bad thing by talking about it more? I recognize two things. Number one, as it weighed on me more and more, and as I thought about it more and more, I realized I had more to say. But also, more importantly, the reason I balked at this topic a lot is because I am a more Xbox-centric content creator. That just happens to be all the companies I've covered for a while. Xbox ended up buying, and then I just shifted my focus to that because I've always been an Xbox fan growing up. But I understand that because I focus on Xbox, I think I'm fair with all companies, but I know the interpretation of the viewer stepping in is, oh, this guy's going to defend Starfield to the end of time. And I think I've been critical of the game where it's necessary, but I hesitate with these topics because I don't think sometimes they're received as fairly as I would hope they would be. But I also realize that I'm not doing my job if I'm avoiding the tough topics, and I understand I'm not going to please everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Starfield review bombing today. Has Bethesda played a factor in that with their response to some of the performance on PC? And how are fans receiving the exclusivity of Starfield? We're going to get into all of that today. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into Starfield content, after this, we're not really getting into those discussions. I'm focused on my final review for the game. Got a couple guides on the way, a couple fun videos for Starfield on the way throughout the rest of this week into next week. So I'm really excited about it. Consider subscribing, and quickly, a word from today's sponsor. The following video is brought to you by Raycon. Whenever I go out on walks with my dogs, who may or may not be featured here in this little integration, I actually pop in my Raycons each and every time because I want to listen to a little bit of a podcast, take in the nature, you know how we roll in this always connected world. So Raycons have always been my go-to. They look, feel, and sound better than ever with optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These earbuds are so comfortable and will not budge, and they offer 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life. Plus, they're priced just right, so you get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. In particular, when it comes to music, I've been listening to the Starfield soundtrack lately because they just added it on Spotify, and it's easy as pressing a button on my headphones to skip to the next track if I'm not feeling one. So these are just honestly all-around awesome headphones. And school's back in session, which means Raycon is having their annual back-to-school sale. For a limited time only, you can go to buyraycon.com/MattyPlays or click the link in my description to get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. Okay, so if you look at the Metacritic score right now for users, you'll see that Starfield is sitting at a 6.4. Now, I saw Juicehead had made a video about this, and when he made it, the score was originally at a 5.5. So since then, we've almost seen the review count double for Starfield on the user side of things, and you'll notice that the score has gone up. It originally being a 5.5, if you looked, you'll see it was a sea of ones and zeros without any write-ups, random usernames, people just submitting reviews to tank the game. And since then, there has been a battle of the other extreme. Now, all of the Xbox PC fans, people who feel like the game's being wronged, are coming in and just leaving blank 10s, blank 9s, and just saying like, hey, yeah, let's get that score on the up and up. Now, I can promise you this, no matter what side of the fence you ride on, Bethesda is sleeping fine at night, and they really don't care about any of this. That said, if you go to a place where you'll actually see the hour count for the reviews, such as Steam, it's sitting at a mostly positive with over 40,000 reviews. Right now, 77% of those reviews are positive. That is something worth taking away from here because around the launch, it was much higher. And yeah, Starfield is no doubt a divisive game. That's one thing that unfortunately the review bombing and review rising, if you want to call it, is starting to shadow, is that I think one of the most incorrect things someone could say in a Starfield review is, hey, if you like Bethesda games, you're gonna love Starfield, because I've seen non-Bethesda fans come in and say, this is the Bethesda game I've been waiting for. And for myself and many other big Bethesda fans who love Fallout, who love Elder Scrolls, came into Starfield and really struggled with the game. Now, I've learned what to love about it and what I don't love about it, but Starfield is definitely not, I think, your common Bethesda game. I think it's inundated with a lot of mechanics that don't explain themselves well. There's a lot of secrets to the game, and the amount of people I've sat down with who are playing Starfield and I've told them certain things about the game that have dramatically improved their experience, where they've gone on the path to loving it. I think some of it does fall to Bethesda on why people aren't liking the game as much, because it doesn't communicate all of its secrets to you well enough. And of course, there are dramatic changes in how the game's paced out, with its exploration pretty much not being there at all, in a trade-off for better quests, better writing, better choices, and so on and so forth. And even those aren't doing much for some people. So that's kind of the blurred line here. There is fair criticism to lay at the feet of Starfield. At the same time, some people, I think, are severely dunking on the game, and I think some people are lying to themselves about how perfect this game is. And it's really weird because it's a battle of two extremes, and there's no nuance in the conversation at all, which is where I think content creators like myself do have a purpose in the conversation and can kind of comb through the weeds and say, hey, this is what's wrong in a rational way. This is what's right in a rational way, and let Bethesda make the creative decisions from there. That said, I don't think Bethesda helped themselves out entirely here, because the performance on PC, when you compare it to other PC ports in 2023, it has not been as catastrophic, but it's not been excellent, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, this answer from Todd Howard, usually our man is silver tongue, as great as you can get in an interview answer, but this one, I think based off his reaction, I don't want to assume too much, he seemed a little bit caught flat-footed on the directness of this question, so I'll just let you hear for yourself in his answer.
I asked our audience, what would you ask Todd? Big question from many. Why did you not optimize this game for PC?
We did. It's running great. It is a next-gen PC game. We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game, but it's got a lot of great stuff going on in it, and the fans are responding awesome.
So while I don't think it's incorrect entirely that Starfield is pushing different boundaries of tech, some people will disagree given the amount of loading screens, and I totally get that. I think given the scale of the game and how much is happening within it, I understand why Todd's saying, yeah, you may need a beefier PC for the game, but when the game isn't running well for some people and your answer is like, well, go buy another part, man, that is where we need to understand the give and take relationship here between consumer and company, and that's not what anyone wants to hear right now is, hey, yeah, you should just go upgrade your PC. Now, I know some people who have actually upgraded their PC for Starfield and still had performance issues. Now, for a lot of folks I'm seeing online, I'm gonna call it as it is, some people are ignoring that you're supposed to install the game to the SSD. I've seen countless people, I have close friends who are like, yo, performance on Starfield sucks. I'm like, where'd you install it? My hard drive. SSD? No. I'm like, go install on the SSD. Oh, yo, it's way better now. So I've seen some people ignoring the very clear fine print of SSD required. You could run the game on a hard drive, but it's going to skip, your audio is going to cut out, and so on and so forth. So there's that side of the fence, but then there's the business side of the fence where I think Bethesda and AMD are screwing a lot of people over. If you go over to Nexus right now, you're going to see the #1 downloaded mod on all of Nexus. The highest downloaded mod, must I emphasize that one more time? The most downloaded mod, okay, is the Starfield Upscaler, replacing FSR2 with DLSS or XESS. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're at with Starfield's performance for some people. I have someone who's doing, by the way, fantastic work on the thumbnails over on Retro Rebound, such a talented illustrator, and they were having performance issues on Starfield until I said, go get this mod, and they got better performance. I had one of my best friends, issues, has a great PC. I said, try the Upscaler mod, fixed it. This is a difference maker now, hence why it has over 500,000 downloads. And for those who are maybe like me a little bit, not super well versed in the PC world, you don't know about upscaler technology, put it this way, what this will allow PC players to do is they can play the game on lower settings to get better performance, but then use an upscaler to help the visuals out so they're not losing out on visual fidelity, but gaining frames. And because of this AMD partnership, where I know AMD's put their hands up and said, we're not stopping Bethesda from doing anything, let's be honest, I'm sure there is something in Bethesda's best interest that helps them out here. The hard line to walk, and I am just assuming here, is that given that there's AMD tech within the Xbox Series X, where the game is very stable, that's where I've been playing the entire experience thus far, I do see why Bethesda may want to do something like that to make sure Starfield isn't a frame rate mess on consoles, where I imagine, given Game Pass and everything, a majority of the people are going to be playing. Make no mistake that I think Bethesda has kind of played a factor in the backlash on a technical level here. On a creative level, it seems very back and forth. I don't think Starfield is necessarily a game that shows its strengths up front. In fact, I think more weaknesses are shown up front, which is why I say to people, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, that I think as you put more time in, you'll appreciate the game more. And it's why I don't think reviewers who are putting out content saying like, I've put 50 hours in, here's my final say. I'm like, I don't think you've seen enough at all. And that's just my say. It's not on me to tell people how to do their reviews, but that's how I'm just looking at it. I think Starfield's a very particular game here, which again goes back to the console war vitriol. It's a lot of mudslinging online, and I recommend people just ignore it and just enjoy playing the game, or try it out at least, see if you do like it. But this is carrying even into mods in funny ways. So if you go over to Nexus, you'll see that there's a Starfield PlayStation Studio splash screen. So if you hate Xbox that much, which I'm certainly not a defender of big corporations at all, but if you hate them that much, you can replace the splash screen from the Xbox startup to have PlayStation Studios instead, which is crazy. And then there are also DualSense PS5 icons, which you can have there. Now, this one I've seen people reacting to. Like, I saw IGN make an article along the lines of like, PlayStation fans seem really upset because they have icons here for PlayStation fans. And I think that's a bit of an overreaction, just because there are PlayStation 5 owners who have a PC and don't have an Xbox. That's the way I've told people for years. Like, if you have the money, if you have the means, and you can get a PC and you can get a console, get a PS5, get a PC, you'll never miss out. You'll run the risk of bad PC ports, hence what we've talked about today, where there are some issues on Starfield and it's to mixed results, but you can get the best of both worlds. You get the PlayStation exclusives where you know they're going to lock it on consoles, and you'll get everything from Xbox and anything on PC, so you're winning both ways. So I don't think the PS5 icons is what it's all drummed up to be, where some people are going, oh, PlayStation fans are seething right now. That's, to me, not the case in that instance, but there is no doubting that there were a lot of people who were hoping Starfield was going to fail. There's no doubting that there's a lot of people who are really preying on this game's downfall and trying to will it into existence. I think this goes for any game. You can literally find me in podcasts, old reviews, talking about this. This isn't just me saying it for the sake of Starfield. I find it sad when so many people are this hell-bent on destroying joy. I don't think Starfield is the worst game to come out this year. I don't think it's the best, but I definitely don't think it's the worst. And I knew this game had a target painted on its back. I mean, the same thing happens with PlayStation games, right? Look, Xbox fans are no saints either. They have their own little subsect of cults that go after all of these PlayStation fans who are just quietly enjoying God of War, Horizon, the list goes on. And it's just sad to see legitimately great games that people are trying to enjoy get absorbed by console war vitriol, which I just feel is getting more and more tribalistic, especially with Starfield. I don't feel super compelled to defend the game by any means, but it's exhausting to the point where I'll sign on, read stuff, and go, okay, enough of the internet for the day. Just move on with my life and go play the game. And yeah, what do we expect from Twitter at this point? But it stinks to see, man. It really does, because there are so many great games out there that get buried in the review bomb process. And I know it's just a way of a consumer trying to send a message to a company, but again, it's just sad to see. But nonetheless, I wanted to talk about this Backlash and just get some thoughts out there on it, try to have a constructive conversation around it all, how Bethesda could be responsible in some ways, how the communities respectively are responsible in some ways, and just move on to guides and all that stuff, get it off my chest. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below, so fire away. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.